I could tell you all about his incredible life, 22 years in the military, a hero on every battlefield. I could tell you about his beautiful family. He's got a distinguished wife. He's got beautiful daughters, Angela, Aubrey, and Austin. And he is the kind of man who deserves to be in Washington. Without further ado, Lieutenant Colonel, Congressman Allen West.
South Florida, Boca, Raton afternoon. So thank you for being here. And and what's those names on that thing? And hello to the media. Happy you guys could join us here. I think that there's a message that we need to send right now to Senator Harry Reid that said the Tea Party is just going away. Harry, we're here. I want to tell you that it is an absolute privilege and honor to represent the people of Congressional District 22, which is where we are standing right here, right now. And it's been 100 days since I took the oath of office, but it was not the first time that I took the oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And I will continue, even though the uniform has changed, it's now a suit and tie, to protect your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. So God bless you all. Now, this past Wednesday, the President gave his mulligan budget speech. And I was in a hearing at the time, but I was able to get the speech, and as you can see, I kind of went through it and made a few little notes. Because what I want to talk to you today about is the America that I serve. He talked about the country that we believed in, and I want to read you some quotes, and I want to tell you how I believe a little bit different from what the President said on Wednesday. He said, "The America I know is generous and compassionate, a land of opportunity and optimism. We take responsibility for ourselves and each other, for the country we want and the future we share. We are the nation that built a railroad across a continent and brought light to communities shrouded in darkness. We sent a generation to college on the GI Bill and saved millions of seniors from poverty with Social Security and Medicare. We have led the world in scientific research and technological breakthroughs that have transformed millions of lives. This is who we are. This is the America I know. And we don't have to choose between a future of spiraling debt, one where we forfeit investments in our people and in our country." Well, let me tell you something, Mr. President. We have a spiraling debt because of your spending policies and programs. And we need to have a leader that is willing to take responsibility for the 3 years of $1.42 trillion, $1.29 trillion, and now $1.65 trillion of deficit spending, as well as since 2007, we have had $5 trillion of debt added to our nation's debt, 29% held by China. And yet, we're already starting to hear on the news, they want a clean bill to come before him to raise the debt ceiling. In the words of some great Southern men, that dog don't hunt. He goes on to say that we will all need to make sacrifices. Well, let me tell you something. The American people are making sacrifices. I know that you are in your homes. I know that you are in your businesses. I know that each and every time you go to the gasoline pump, you maybe cannot fill it up. I am sick and tired of people saying the American people need to make sacrifices. Washington, D.C. needs to make sacrifices. In his speech, he laid down 4 points. And the first point, he said the first step in our approach is to keep annual domestic spending low by building on the savings that both parties agreed to last week. Well, let me tell you about the savings that were agreed to last week. By the time we had came to that agreement last week, early Saturday morning, to the time that it was just penned to paper by the president, I suppose yesterday, we already spent that money. We're spending $4 billion a day in the United States of America. In the month of February, the shortest month of the year, we spent $223 billion, a record deficit spending month in this country. And ladies and gentlemen, that continuing resolution budget for fiscal year 2011 was the largest appropriation bill in the history of the United States of America, $1.05 trillion. We are not doing what is right. If you want to know what's happening with domestic spending, we are right now at 24% of our gross domestic product. And if you look at the budget that the president has proposed, we will go to 26%. We cannot have that. We have got to get federal government spending capped. We need to bring it back down to 20% of our GDP because historically that's where it has been. And that's the only way we're going to turn these record deficits around is that we get control of spending in Washington, D.C. The second step that the president laid out in his approach was to define additional savings in our defense budget. 2 weeks ago, I had the honor of bringing my first piece of legislation up on the House of Representatives floor. And it was a cut in defense spending. We found a wasteful program. There's more that I found, and there's more to follow. 393 to 0 it passed. It's not the time for talk. It's the time for action. And I got to wonder, when the president said here we have to review America's missions and capabilities and the role in a changing world, I wonder if he thought about those countless amounts of Tomahawk cruise missiles at $1.4 million a pop that he fired over into Libya, and we don't even know who we're fighting there. He says here that the third step in his approach is to further reduce health care spending in our budget. 159 new government agencies, bureaucracies, and boards is not the way that you reduce health care spending in the United States of America. 11 new taxes is not the way that you reduce health care spending in the United States of America. $500 billion of cut to Medicare is not the way that you take care of seniors. And a little known fact that no one is talking about, that one of those new boards that is being created is a board to make sure that we keep Medicare spending capped at a certain rate. So if you want to talk about taking care of our seniors, the buck starts with the President of the United States. And if the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is such a great plan, then why has over 1,100 waivers been granted to special interest groups approved by the Obama administration? The last thing that he says, his fourth point, and this is pretty funny. He says the fourth step in our approach is to reduce spending in the tax code. Now I got to tell you something. I was born in Georgia. I went to school, University of Tennessee. But I can't figure out what in the Sam Hill that means. Could it be that the president believes that it's not your money? Maybe he believes that it belongs to the federal government. And he goes on to say, the tax code is loaded up with spending on things like itemized deductions. And while I agree with the goals of many of these deductions, like home ownership or charitable giving, we cannot ignore the fact that they provide millionaires, those evil, bad millionaires, an average tax break of $75,000 while doing nothing for the typical middle-class family that does not itemize. What the President of the United States does not understand is that we do not need class warfare rhetoric in the United States of America. We do not need to penalize the people that are out there producing and trying to create the next generation of jobs and growth in our private sector. We're not talking about millionaires and billionaires. We're talking about producers. What the president is talking about is growing and expanding an entitlement class, and if that entitlement class becomes greater than the production class, then it's Katie bar the door. It's over for the United States of America, and I will not allow that to happen on my watch.
good. That's right. When I'm not in number,
Investment is not a word of the public sector. But all of a sudden now they changed the word spending to say investment. If you want to see long-term sustainable economic growth, the investment is standing here before me. The ingenuity is standing here before me. The innovation is standing out there before me. If we do not understand that we have to unleash the indomitable entrepreneurial spirit of the American citizen, that is how we will secure the future and the legacy of this great economic engine called America for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's tax season. It is the season when all Americans say, I want to make sure that the federal government does its duties and responsibilities. But it's a new season where we need to change the verbiage of Washington, D.C., one from how much more we can spend to how much more we can cut, to how much more efficient and effective we can be, how better we can constitutionally mandate this federal government so that we don't have wasteful programs. It is time that we realize that the American people are sacrificing. They are giving. But we are not gaining their trust and confidence because we are not being good stewards of their resources, the American taxpayer dollar. We're not being good stewards of the greatest resource that we have, the men and women who wear our uniform. This is the bottom line. If we're going to commit our men and women, we commit them to victory. We don't commit them to unspecified missions. We don't commit them to places like Libya where we don't know what is happening. We have to stand strong, vigilant, and with resolve. The future is at stake for our country, and now is the time for all of my fellow Americans to rise up with voices stentorian and say we will not go away. The United States of America, its greatest days are ahead of us. God bless you all, and thank you for being here.